Venezuelan investigation media outlet Armando Info revealed which are the different criminal bands that essentially operates in Venezuelan Amazon's illegal mining and, of course, drug trafficking. In a pretty controversial article that has already created a lot of heat not only in Colombia but also in Venezuela, the investigation essentially reveals that the bands that operates in Venezuelan Amazon's drug trafficking and illegal mining are essentially Marxist guerrilla groups, Colombian Marxist guerrilla groups, ELN and FARC. Of course, we need to remember that this particular issue of FARC is basically the faction that decided to get away from the peace accords signed with the Colombian state in 2016. So we need to remember that there is a pretty significant part, a pretty significant faction of FARC that is currently demobilized and is part of the Colombian Congress, while there is another part that essentially treason the peace accord that essentially decided to return to their terrorist operations. So this armed faction is the one faction of the FARC that is operating in Venezuelan Amazon. And of course, along these two Colombian groups, the other bands that operate in Venezuelan Amazon's illegal mining and drug trafficking are Venezuelan criminal bands known as syndicates, which are known for operating inside Venezuelan jails. And of course, we're talking about basically the most powerful and the most dangerous criminal bands of these South American countries. And along with the syndicates, the other group that operate in Venezuelan Amazon's illegal mining and drug trafficking are the Guarimpeiros. This last group is quite interesting because the Guarimpeiros are essentially criminal bands from Brazil that has been operating with illegal mining in Brazil for a very long time, and they have had a pretty significant presence in this part of Venezuela since a couple of decades ago. So, according to this article from Armando Info, the cases of the Colombian Marxist guerrillas ELN and FARC came after the peace accord signed during the Juan Manuel Santos administrations here in Colombia. So essentially what happened was that before this peace accord with the Colombian state, the FARC already had a pretty significant presence in the Venezuelan Amazon. Nevertheless, this presence wasn't exactly pretty powerful. We're talking about a very reduced number of FARC members operating in this part of Venezuela. However, once the peace accord was signed, the FARC initially got out from Venezuela in order to be part of this peace accord with the Colombian state. On this situation, what happened was that the ELN essentially occupied this type of vacuum that FARC left in Venezuela. They replaced the presence of FARC, and they replaced it big time with a lot of ELN members starting to be part of these criminal operations in the Venezuelan Amazon. So I already spoke about the Guarimpeiros and the situations of the Guarimpeiros, which, by the way, are one of the most dangerous criminal bands in Brazil. And of course, these are mostly the bands that are part of the Brazilian illegal mining in the Amazon rainforest. But the case of the syndicates is quite relevant, is quite significant, because the syndicates, the Venezuelan syndicates, appeared a couple of years ago as Venezuelan criminals basically started to notice how profitable this business was. So they organized and they basically decided to be part of these illegal operations. This illegal mining phenomenon in the Venezuelan Amazon had as direct consequence many killings and many massacres of indigenous people. In fact, Some of these criminal organizations are using members of the indigenous communities known as the Yanomamis as slaves on mining operations. Of course, the Venezuelan regime allows each of these groups to participate, given the fact that the business is essentially that these criminal bands provide a very substantial amount of their business to the Venezuelan regime in order to operate freely in this illegal operation, which is illegal mining and, of course, drug trafficking. So we're going to see over the next few days, probably over the next few weeks, which will be some reactions on these articles, and eventually if this could somehow help to shake the tree on Venezuela and see what is going to fall out. Reporting from Medellin, Colombia, Luis Orozco, Newsweek.